Hi, my name is Astrid and today we are animating a graph using SVGator. So I have the top line here, or the top graph, as a guide pretty much, because I want my blue line to turn into that. And for that, I'm going to select it. So I'm gonna open here my pink SVG group, and I'm going to select this path morph pink B, which is blue, the blue line that we have here, and I'm gonna make a morph animation. So that's basically how I'm going to turn this line into this line. And this is gonna be just like a guide for now, and then we're gonna do other things. But for now, I'm just going to, with my node tool over here, I'm going to move each of the nodes, and we can move each of the nodes and match the shape of the graph that we have in pink up top. So it's going to be something like this. And now if we play that animation, we can see that we don't have to make like any kind of position animation or anything like that. We already have that line morphing into the top line that we have here. Now I want that to maybe not happen as the first, like the very first thing. So I'm going to move this way for now. And we can always tweak the timing as we work on this. But I'm going to select my SVG label that I have here. So basically, I have some SVG text here and then a rectangle. And I'm going to select the folder here, and I'm going to add a position animation. And I'm also going to add an opacity animation. So as the animation starts, maybe we can leave a little bit of empty room here. It doesn't have to start right away. And then we can add opacity. You can go from 0 to 100, so it's already 100. So we just have to bring that opacity down to 0. And then in terms of position, we can go from maybe down here to right where we have it. So maybe something like here. And then we can add a bounce. So ease out back. And then once we play, it should be the opposite. Let's select that keyframe and reverse it so it actually goes the right way. Make it quicker, and then that label goes up like that. It has like a little bit of a bounce. Okay, so that's the first thing that happens, and then our graph here starts morphing once our cursor grabs it. That's the first thing that happens before our graph here starts morphing. So what I want to do next is for this cursor to look like it's grabbing the whole graph here and move it up. So I'm going to grab my cursor and I'm going to animate its position. And let's get a little closer here. Let's make sure we are in the transform tool. And I actually want to move this up. I want this to be the initial position maybe, and then we're going to move up. Let's go back a little bit. And as we move up towards the final position of our graph, this cursor looks like it's bringing it up to its final position there. So something like that. Now, since I also need my ellipses to move up with my graph as the mouse grabs it and takes it all the way to the pink line, or what's gonna become the pink line, I need my ellipses to also move with it. So at the point where it starts moving, I'm gonna animate each of the ellipses, and that will be a lot of work, but I'm gonna do something a little bit easier. So at this point right here, I'm gonna select each one of my ellipses and I'm gonna add a position animation. And then I'm gonna go all the way to where my graph gets positioned in its place. So right here, and I'm gonna add another keyframe. So I have to go to each of the pink ellipses and copy the Y position. So I'm gonna copy that and then go back to my blue ellipse and then paste that Y value. And I'm gonna do exactly the same process for each of the 15 ellipses. Once we go through the process and we have the 15 dots moving up with the graph, then it all looks like it's actually moving and morphing correctly. Now, at the beginning of the animation, I actually don't want to see any of the pink stuff. So I want to go back here and find the pink line. So this one right here, and I want to completely get rid of it as the first state of it. So I'm gonna find here the offset, and I'm gonna match that number. So 550, 47, that makes it go away. And also my pink ellipses, as their initial state, they should all be 0% opacity. This is just something that I did to have them as a guide for my initial graph. So I'm just gonna change that to 0% opacity because I don't really need it right now anymore. But now that I have my graph moving up and I have kind of like that final position right here, I can actually animate it back to the pink. So I'm gonna select my path offset pink element here, and I'm gonna add a stroke offset animation. So right here, and I'm gonna go forward a little bit, add another keyframe, and then I'm gonna find my offset here. And I'm gonna put it back to 0 at the end of this animation. So that way it's gonna look like it's turning pink like that. Another cool thing that I can do to make it slightly more interesting is to also add a stroke width animation. So if it's happening a little bit too fast, I can also make it longer. And then with stroke width animation, maybe I can add a couple keyframes here. And then we have 7. And then maybe in the middle, I can change this to 4, and then it goes back to 7. And that way the width kind of has like a slight variation there. Now, each of my pink ellipses that I have here, I also, remember I changed the opacity to 0, but I also want them to kind of follow the stroke offset that we're turning into that pink line as it draws itself. So I'm actually gonna make this a little longer so we can kind of follow frame by frame. It might not be exact, but I kind of want the ellipses to show as the line draws itself. So let's try to do that now. So I'm gonna select all of my pink ellipses here. I'm gonna go back to my initial keyframe here where my stroke offset starts animating. Select all of my pink ellipses, animate the opacity. So let's find opacity here. And then that's gonna happen very, very quickly. I'm gonna add another keyframe. And then that's gonna go from, actually, before I do that, I'm gonna say, okay, that's 0. And then instead of adding the keyframe, I'm just gonna change this to 100%. So they all change instead of having to do that manually. And then what I'm gonna do is, since this is not quite in order, I see that I have the first one, then 15, 14, 13. I'm gonna delete the first one here. And I'm just gonna go all the way to the top and add the first one here. So animate the first one back, 1 keyframe, add, and then this one, bring it back to 0. And then what I'm gonna do is just move 1 keyframe, each one of them. So we have a nice animation there, like it's gonna follow the line as it draws itself with the stroke offset animation. Now when we play, we can see that the ellipses are appearing with the stroke. Okay, so once we get to this point, I actually want the blue lines and the blue ellipses to disappear. So I'm gonna add a opacity animation for them to go away. So I'm gonna select blue ellipses and path morph pink and add an opacity animation as well. So I'm gonna go from 100% to 0% opacity. So that way they go away. And then if we play the whole thing, we can see our cursor moves it up, the animation happens, and then we just get that SVG pink animation. Like and subscribe for more SVGator tutorials if you found this helpful. See you in the next one.